Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, but that's all right. I've got a couple of belated updates, and I know it's been forever since I've updated about my hair. Well, 4 months, I think it's been. But most of that's just been because there hasn't been a whole lot to update about my hair. So I actually recently saw a video from another loc YouTuber, and she was talking about how, yeah, there's just not a lot to say. I think most of the changes for my hair did happen in the first year, and as I'm now 22 months locked and approaching 2 years in the next 2 months, there hasn't been a ton of changes. Obviously, my hair has gotten longer, and that's cool. I'm really excited about that. It's still been annoyingly frizzy, and it's not just the frizz, it's kind of like when the ends are kind of just like long strings of hair that's not in the lock, and so this one's kind of like this, but this one's not that bad. And so I'll just generally wrap it back around the lock, and I've done that before. It's nothing new, so there's not really a whole lot of updates. I will go ahead and show you my hair, and then I want to jump into my reading year in review from 2021. So let's do the hair first, because I know some of you are just here for the hair. So let's do that. It is very similar to before, but I think the biggest difference will be like the length in the back. Still keeping my middle part. Still keeping nice straight lines. And every now and then I get a little bit worried about that, because like this time I waited 5 weeks in between interlocking, which again, because of my soft fine hair, I cannot go 2 months in between interlocking. That doesn't work for my hair. So yeah, sometimes when I go that long between interlocking, 5 weeks or maybe like 5.5 instead of 4 weeks, then I start getting worried because like hair starts growing out of the locks more, and I'm like, oh no, am I gonna lose the grid? And I never do. I just fix it when I interlock. So yeah, here's the front. Here's the texture. Very, very nice, full. These are very soft. I love having locks. And that's pretty much it. I'm using the same stuff, same spray bottle, same shampoos. I'll put links to some of that stuff in the description. I've also got a playlist if you want to check that out, see how I went from 500 plus locks to what I've got now. And yeah, so let's hop into the reading part. This is data that I combined, so I am going to be using this to go off of. This is a combination of what I remember reading and also my GoodReads data. So I do have a GoodReads. It is ominous music, just like all of my other socials. So if you're interested in seeing what I'm reading, or seeing what I have read and seeing my readings and stuff like that, you can check that out. So in 2021, I read 9,001 plus pages, and it's a plus because GoodReads did not take all of my data from the books that I read. I don't know why. I read 29 books. The shortest book I read was Mi Primer Paseo a la Ciudad. I'm learning Spanish, so that's a kid's book. My longest book I read was Any Way the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. It was 592 pages. Oh, the shortest book I read was 24 pages. It's a kid's book. I listened to 0 audiobooks, because I'm not really a fan of audiobooks. Just for myself, like I'm a fan of them for other people that like them. For me, I like being able to create the voices and stuff in my head. That sounds crazy, but that's what books are. The average book length I read was 332 pages. The most popular book I read was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, and 953,854 people also shelved that book on GoodReads. I did not like that book at all. Let's just get into it a little bit. This is not going to be a book review situation, but I will kind of go over a few quick points. So one of my biggest issues with People We Meet on Vacation was that the entire plot could have been solved by the simplest of conversations, and it was not. Also, Alex's backstory didn't make sense to me, because if you're raised in a purity culture background, there's no way that you would not see the two characters' interaction as romantic. So the least popular book I read was Mi Primer Paseo a la Ciudad, which was the short Spanish book that I read. I read a couple others, but that one was the shortest and I guess the least popular. Another not as popular book I read, not counting the kids' books, was The Rave by J.R. Tross. And I mentioned that because I think you should read it, even though it is not as popular as books like People We Meet on Vacation, which honestly did not enjoy as much as my less popular books, such as The Rave. So check that out. All right, my average rating for 2021 was 4.0. I did read a lot of books that I liked, which was amazing. My highest rated book by other people was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and very validating because that was one of my favorite books I've ever read. I think it's amazing. I love it. I'm so excited for the sequel, and I'm not going to say too much more about it because I've already ranted about it in at least 2 other videos. I had 14 5-star reads, which is really good. I loaned 7 books from the library digitally. All my library loans were digital. My new reads were 22, rereads 3. I purchased 22 books. I'm gonna go over to genre next, and these genre ratings will overlap, like they're not gonna add up to 29 because some books have more than one genre. I read 7 romance books, 11 fantasy books, 5 sci-fi books, 9 young adult books, 4 children's books, 1 horror/thriller, and that was a mistake. I don't like horror/thriller. I read it because it was part of a readathon, and it was a part of the science fiction fantasy team, which I'm going to be doing that readathon again this year because it was really great. But yeah, I read that book by accident. I don't like horror. So yeah, one of those. I read 16 books by Black authors, 1 book by an Asian author, 2 books by trans authors, 3 books by LGBTQ plus authors in general that I know of. And again, I don't think that people need to be out to write books by these identities. I don't believe in that. I think people should not have to be forced out of the closet. That's just my thoughts on that. Books with Black protagonists, like the characters, 14. Books with LGBTQ plus protagonists, 14. Books with LGBTQ plus characters in general, wait, that's 14. The ones with the LGBT protagonist is 9. Books with Black characters, 19. Books with non-white protagonists, 17. English language books, 25. And Spanish or Spanish English books, 4. So my favorite new reads were Legendborn, Redemptor, and Slay. And that was really hard to narrow down just because I read a lot of books that I liked, but those are the ones that I ranted about the most. Those are the ones that I will recommend probably forever. And I love them so much. I want everyone to read them. They just really got me excited about reading fantasy again, just reading fantasy in general, just like, wow. Anyway, my least favorite books were The Lesson by Cadwell Turnbull. That was the accidental horror. The 100,000 Kingdom by N.K. Jemisin. Look, I had my thoughts. It is what it is. You can read my review on GoodReads if you want to. And People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which I've already kind of touched on, but again, I'm pretty sure I have a review on GoodReads if you want to see that. Lastly, but not leastly, I'm gonna go over the books that I read. I may or may not have like a thought on them, but it'll be super short for each book because it's 29 books. So Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, nothing else to say there, love it. The Lesson by Cadwell Turnbull, accidental horror book, and yeah, these are in like loose chronological order. Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar, that was one of my books by trans authors. That was a really good book. Definitely had lots of like art school vibes, and I do recommend that. Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. I think I briefly reviewed this one too. It was kind of like a time travel book, which was interesting, like a time travel romance, friendship situation. Slay by Brittany Morris. I think I've also talked about this one before, but it's about a girl who is a coder and she's really into video games. So it's got a fantasy element with the video game, but also kind of like that young adult fiction. Really, really powerful book. Love it. Definitely check it out. I read Non-Binary Memoirs of Gender and Identity, edited by Micah Rajanov and Scott Duane. So this was a nonfiction, a collection of essays by non-binary people, and I thought it was really good. And I read Happily Ever Afters by Elise Bryant. This was a really cute little rom-com. I think I gave it 3 stars. The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Then I read Autonomous by Ann and Lee Newitz. That book was so good. It's very sci-fi. It is about a robot and a pharmaceutical pirate. Go get you this book. I believe the author is also non-binary. Then I read A Song of Race and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. This book is so good, 5 stars. It has really great mental health representation tied into fantasy. Really cool. I actually recently reread it again just because I was getting ready to read the second book. So definitely check that out. The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is another book that honestly, kind of on my favorite reads of the year, maybe? I don't know. I had a lot of favorites. I really like this book. It's sapphic. It's got like universe travel. It really had me like on like the edge of my seat. I don't know. Can you say that for a book? But it was really good, really exciting. Then I read Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers, and thinking about that book makes you feel like warm and fuzzy inside. It was a really nice reflection on mental health, love romance, and it's also got the Vegas marriage trope, which is fun. Party of Two by Jasmine Gilroy. This was a very cute romance. They also talk about cake a lot, and I love cake personally, so there's that. I read Love Creekwood by Becky Albertalli. This was like my least favorite Becky Albertalli book. I've read other books of hers that I really, really like. So I think, you know, every author, if you keep writing, not everyone's gonna like every book you write. So this one was kind of odd. It was like written in email format, which I don't know, didn't work for me. Then I read The Rave by J.R. Tross, which is really cool. It's got a female protagonist, and it's kind of got like a Ghostbusters vibe at the beginning, which I don't know if I can say that because I've never seen Ghostbusters, but she's like a ghost hunter. And then there's also like a magical competition involved. Like it's got some of the like classic fantasy sci-fi tropes done super well. I think there's gonna be a book 2, so you should get on that if you want to be ready for book 2. I don't know. Then I read Carry On by Rainbow Rowell and Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. And these are both rereads because I wanted to read Any Way the Wind Blows by Rainbow Rowell. And I love books 1 and 2 of that series. It's basically gay Harry Potter. Yeah, you definitely should check it out. Honestly, better than Harry Potter. Then The Proposal by Jasmine Gilroy. This is my second Jasmine Gilroy book I read. I didn't really like this one. I think there was just too much like, me man, ooh, me woman kind of vibes in it. It was a rom-com, which, you know, that can happen in those, but it doesn't have to. So let's skip it. I also read Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, and this rom-com, I feel like even if you don't like rom-coms, you might want to give this one a try. It was cute as hell. I read Payback's a Witch, and that one was cute. It was a very like fall Halloween-y book with like witches. Definitely had more of a folktale fantasy vibe than like a high fantasy vibe. I think I rated it 3 stars. Then I read Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, which was a reread, and Redemptor by Jordan Ifueko, and so close to my heart, these books. Please read them if you like fantasy. That's all I'll say. I've already ranted enough about those books. I read The Bennett Woman by Eden Apaya Kubi. This was a debut novel and it had some really great ideas. I really thought the main couple was cute. It kind of dragged on a little bit for me, but still solid debut novel, 3 stars. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. Like I said, I did not like the characters. I thought it didn't make sense that someone from a purity culture background wouldn't be able to read a friendship as romantic. Like seriously, if you come from purity culture background, you think looking at someone is like too romantic, too lustful or whatever. Like it didn't make sense. Then I have my Spanish books, and these were not at the end of the year. These were just like throughout the year. Pide en Deseo, Alberto, Mi Primer Paseo a la Ciudad, El Patito Feo by Catherine Rushing, and La Gata Coco. And that's it. I love reading, so I'm going to be talking a lot more about books because I make videos about things that I want to make videos about, things that I would find interesting to watch. I will hopefully do an update on like what I want to read for the readathon that I'm going to be doing soon. Oh, like and subscribe if you want to do that, you know, if you want to. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.